Hello, everybody, and welcome to our final regular season edition of the Kelly Green Hour as we are set for Week 18 in the National Football League. You heard that right. The regular season is going to be over in about 55 hours or so, which will be the end of the Ravens-Steelers game in Pittsburgh to determine the winner of the AFC. I'm your host, LG Harrell, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Connor Donald. Connor, what's going on, man? Maybe not.
You
hear me,
said
Connor?
we're ready for Week 18. I don't even know if I'm ready for Week 18, but yeah, no, I can hear you. Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I mean,
Might
you were
be a
saying
little bit of a-
we're ready for Week 18, and I was just saying, are we really ready for Week 18? I don't know if I'm totally ready for Week 18, but oh well, here we are. The regular season is coming to an end, and on to the playoffs we go after this matchup with the Washington Commanders.
Yep, and this is going to be a glorified preseason game as the Philadelphia Eagles will be resting the majority of their starters. Before we jump into that, as always, follow us on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. Follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10. Follow me on Twitter at LJRL54. Follow the Eagles Pinpool Network on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your podcasts at Eagles Pinpool Network. Let us know your thoughts in the chat if you are joining us live. Week 18. We're going to touch base. It's not going to be our longest episode. Like, let's be honest, a glorified preseason game. Is there something to play for? Yes, but as Sirianni said today, the only thing the Eagles control is health. They need the Bears to lose. They need other things to happen to get the number 2 seed. But the Eagles can control going into the postseason as healthy as possible. And let us know if you agree with that. Now, we were having the discussion in our Discord chat the other day when the decision came out. I and Connor, I believe you too, were in agreement with what Coach Sirianni is deciding to do with resting, pretty much all the starters, as many as you can. Obviously, it's not a college team. We don't have 120 guys. You can't sit everybody. And there were others that said, look, the offense doesn't look good. They still have something to fight for. That they should go out there and be playing and kind of try to get into rhythm. I don't think we saw it against the Raiders and the Commanders in back-to-back weeks. I don't think, a Week 18 game against a bad Commanders team, however the offense is going to look, is going to mean anything come playoff time. I think the offense is what it is. Will we see a change? I do think that one of the only changes that we will see is going to be Jalen Hurts potentially running a little bit more. I think they saved that for the playoffs. I don't know if they saved anything else. I doubt it. But the running aspect of Jalen Hurts is going to be added into the playbook or re-added into the playbook. And I think that helps Saquon, and that also helps the passing game. Playing Jalen, playing AJ, playing Saquon, playing the starting offensive line against a Commanders team that has nothing to play for, and already talked about 2 weeks ago, we'll see them in 2 weeks. They have the cheap shot artist and Frankie Louvu. I don't think it means anything. I don't think it helps. I think a healthy Eagles team can beat anybody in the NFC playoffs.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I mean, one of the points that you made is we thought we were made, or our offense was made better by beating up pretty significantly on the Commanders and the Raiders a few weeks back. And we realized in the Buffalo Bills games that either isn't true, or we just are so insanely conservative by nature because of Nick Sirianni that any type of lead we're going to try and preserve like it's our firstborn child. And it just, so would it make, I understand we're playing for some, if it was more in our control, and the other game was going to happen earlier in the day and we could have made that decision, but of course the NFL's never going to let that happen. Okay, if there was more in our control, but like I posted to our X feed earlier today, I agree with Nick Sirianni's read on it, because at the end of the day, you're relying on a Detroit Lions team that's lost 3 in a row. 4 of their last 5 is a shell of itself from last season and under Ben Johnson's tutelage as the offensive coordinator. And it's clear the Chicago Bears, for the most part, it looks like they're going to play their starters and they're going to go for that 2 seed. And it just doesn't feel like the ball is in our court and it's in our favor that we're going to be able to make things happen the way we want to make things happen. I totally get it. The whole aspect of play the offense against Commanders, and if they look better, then we're headed in the right direction. We already saw this. This would be the same old song and dance of 2 weeks ago, and we know that that's totally not true. So putting yourself out there and putting yourself at risk of injury for a team that's, banged up. It's been 8 weeks since they saw their bye, 7 weeks since they saw their bye week. They've played a very tough back half of the year schedule with the likes of, the Packers, the Bears, the Lions, the Dallas Cowboys, the Los Angeles Chargers. They had some tough matchups before, prior to the Bills where there was 2 easier matchups. So they definitely need this rest. We know they need this rest. And I want to say the offense has earned it, but they really haven't. The defense has earned it. The offense hasn't earned it, but the offense has, to me, earn the right to stay healthier for another week than maybe some of these other teams who are who are being forced to play their starters or who are playing their starters by choice, who may put their players at risk because of that heading into the playoffs, just jockeying for positioning.
Big Country, thanks for joining us. He hopes Tanner plays great so the Eagles can get a good draft pick for him. If I was saying this to a buddy, if you put Tanner McKee in this upcoming draft with the quarterbacks, he's the best quarterback. So there could be, I know the Eagles love him and they would like to keep him around. I mean, this is the first year Jalen hasn't gotten hurt. He would have started all 17, but they're obviously sitting him this last game and Tanner's going to get the start. But if you're able to get a high draft pick, first rounder, maybe, probably not, but you never know, from the second rounder, Howie is definitely going to think about that and then figure out the backup quarterback position there. But we know that there's a team in the NFL that prioritizes the backup quarterback position. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. Go back to the 2017 season. That's how they won the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. So they're not going to, and that's why they drafted Jalen Hurts, because they saw what happened in that playoff game against Seattle when Carson got hurt, and it was McCown, and he tore his hamstring pretty much and couldn't move. They wanted to have somebody be able to back up Carson, and it just so happened that he ended up supplanting Carson, and Jalen, became Super Bowl MVP. It'll be interesting to see what happens this offseason, but we obviously don't want to think about the offseason. I am looking forward to Tanner McKee playing. We know what he can do. He's not going to be thrown to AJ. I kind of think Schmitty's going to play the first quarter to get 44. I think it's 44 yards to get to 1,000 yards. I think that might happen. I will be, every time the ball gets thrown to him and he gets hit, I will be holding my breath. And that's the one thing, not having AJ out there, not having most of the starting offensive line, not having Saquon, not having Goddard, not having Hurts, not having Q and Coop and, Bond and Jalen Carter, not having all these guys out there. We don't have to sit there holding our breath. If any of that, we saw what happened in 2023. Now, I know the season was in a downward spiral, but AJ Brown got hurt in a very meaningless game in Week 18 in Jersey against the Giants. And they got blown out against Tampa the next week, and the offense couldn't do much of anything. It was Devontae Smith and nobody else. Last year, Saquon could have went for the rushing record. They sat everybody. They gave themselves the bye. They didn't have the number one seed. We got to remember that. Just because they played 3 home playoff games doesn't mean they were the number one seed last year. Washington defeated Detroit, which helped the Eagles host the NFC Championship game. They manufactured their own bye, and that's what they're doing this week, and I 100% agree with what Sirianni is doing. As I mentioned, if just coming into this week, it was just the Eagles controlled it. If the Eagles won, they get the number 2 seed, they would play their starters. But like we mentioned, they need to win. The Bears need to lose. I mean, we saw what happened with Detroit against Minnesota. They lost to a third-string quarterback. I think they've mailed it in. Everybody says that they're going to fight for Dan Campbell, but let's be honest, they want this season to end, and they've got to go to Chicago. Jared Goff outdoors, it's going to be cold as hell in Chicago. If Detroit does us a solid, and thank you, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, we know Jared Goff and how he is in cold weather, and it just isn't very good. And the fact that, the Bears are going out there and they're going to play their starters as long as they need to ensure that they've gained the second seed. I mean, it sucks. I get it. But, I mean, we have to accept that, Nick Sirianni's conservative by nature. This felt like the route that he was going to go. He was playing the media for a couple days. We know he was playing the media. That's exactly what Nick Sirianni does. And he ultimately ended up making the call that I think is the right call. I know that there's lots of different opinions. And one of the things that I said in our Discord chat was, if you're of the ilk, they should play the starters, make sure you're standing behind it if a starter gets hurt. Because there's a lot of people who say play the starters, and then as soon as that starter gets hurt, they're like, well, in the back of my mind, I knew it wasn't the right idea, but he did it anyways. But they spent the week prior going on Twitter or Facebook and preaching how they wanted the starters to play, and that's the way to go. And so, I mean, hold that power and hold that strength when you're standing behind it. And I stand behind this fully. I agree with you. Like Sirianni said, we're going to rest the majority of the starters, but obviously you're 53 men. You can't rest all of them. You're 48 on game day or whatever it is. You can't rest all of them. And some of these guys are going to have to play. And, some of those guys are like, what would have been Marcus Epps, but Marcus Epps has a concussion. But like Moro Jomo's going to see the field. Dory Jackson's going to see the field. Jalix Hunt's going to see the field.
Dory Jackson might not, because we have Jacorian Bennett, who we'll see, Mac McWilliams, Keely Ringo, and Brandon John. Dory might not see the field. He'll dress, just because you have to have a certain amount of people. That's a good. Can we sit out KP this week? But you have to dress. You have to dress a certain amount of people, so you can't not dress everybody. Like I said, it's not a college team where you have 100, 120 guys. But so Dory will probably dress, but I don't think he's going to play. The linebackers are going to be Smile Munden and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Campbell will probably dress, but won't play all that much, because who knows what's happening with Nakobe. I think Nakobe will be back the wild card weekend, but you never know. So you don't want to risk Campbell. On the defensive line, Brandon Graham's going to play. Brandon Graham, Ty Robinson, Patrick Johnson, probably Jalix Hunt, maybe at the safety positions. Well, Sidney Brown can go out there and kill whoever he wants, because it doesn't really matter. I don't know who the other safety. Andre Sam be the other safety. That's where I'm thinking the defense is going to look like. Obviously, there'll be some other guys that I'm not really thinking of right now off the top of my head, but I kind of see that. And look, Washington still, while Josh Johnson's the starter, they still have Terry McLaurin, Debo Samuel, Ja'Cory Crockett, whatever his name is, Bill. They still have some weapons over there, and they're going to try to win the game probably. But I still think that this Eagles team, and we haven't even touched on our offense yet, which we will in a minute. But I still think that we're going to put a battle up. The spread went from, I think the Eagles were 7.5, 8-point favorites, and it went down to 3.5. The Eagles are still favored with all backups, and now it doesn't help, I guess, for Washington that Josh Johnson's their quarterback and he's not very good. But it's going to be fun to sit back and we don't have to win this game. This is a glorified preseason game. We don't have to get pissed off when something goes wrong. We can just sit back, relax, and just be happy that everybody's going to be healthy going into that wild card playoff game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You know that there's going to be a lot of people pissed off at certain things anyways, just because that's the nature of Philadelphia Eagles fans. We know that people are going to try and create something out of nothing if Tanner McKee has a good game against a shell of the Commanders of last season. And to back to that Tanner McKee comment for a second, I didn't get to comment on it. You will be hard. I feel like you're going to be very hard pressed to have a team come out and put out, even a day one. I mean, there might be a later day two pick possibly that somebody would be willing to deal. But I feel like, you got two starts, both of those in week 18, one against the Giants, one against the Washington Commanders, who are not the Washington Commanders of 2024. You're going to have to really predict out and see out and buy into, there's a lot of, the Philadelphia media and what they're saying about Tanner McKee and what people who've watched tape on Tanner McKee, what limited tape there is, say about Tanner McKee. But I mean, you're going to have to find a team who's willing to really, really look at some deep stuff to figure out if Tanner McKee's a guy and can be a starter in the NFL. I'm not one of those guys who's there to say Tanner McKee is a surefire starting quarterback in the NFL. Of course, when you're looking at 32 Of course, when you're looking at 32 teams and the circumstances of some of these teams, I agree. There's going to be a team who thinks that Tanner McKee, are going to be some teams who think and believe that Tanner McKee can be the starter. To think that would be someone who is in a position to take a Time or Fernando Mendoza. Unlikely. I wouldn't think that the Jets or the Raiders are going to build their future around Tanner McKee, but maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers, maybe someone who's looking for another potential bridge quarterback, but a younger quarterback that could be your future. Maybe, I don't know. It's difficult to say, but like you said, we're going to have lots of time to talk about that in the off season. But I agree with you. The good thing is you can sit back, you can evaluate some players you don't get a chance to see all that often. Big Country says Ty Robinson gets some reps. I love Ty Robinson through the draft process. I was hoping he would play more, but it just went to show that the depth of our interior defensive line and it being mainly just three guys. And then Byron Young has stepped up big when he's needed to step up. Ty Robinson just hasn't had the opportunity to even crack the game day roster in most cases. So he's one of the guys I'm excited to watch. You made the point about Adoree Jackson. It's true. There's a good chance Adoree Jackson dresses, but may not have to see the field, which brings up Jacorian Bennett, who's another guy I'm pretty excited to watch because I'm a guy who's been kind of secretly rooting for him in the lows of the Adoree Jackson points of the season, and he never really got a chance, and I got the vibe that Vic Fangio wasn't bought into him either. So it'll be interesting to see, when forced into the situation, what he's going to be able to do. And like you said, the Washington Commanders offense has very good weapons, and some weapons who these number twos could struggle against, but could really have an opportunity to prove themselves against as well.
Yeah, definitely. So it should be fun for them just to get out there, play. Like I said, a lot of guys haven't had a chance to get out onto the field a lot this year because the Eagles haven't been blowing teams out, and the starters and the depth that we have, they've been doing a very good job. On the offensive side of the ball, obviously, we mentioned Tanner McKee. He kind of let something slip in one of the videos. Fred Johnson's going to play left tackle this week. It's not right tackle. So my guess it's probably going to be Fred Johnson, Brett Toth, Drew Kendall, Tyler Steen, and Matt Pryor would be my guess. I could be wrong. I am excited to see Drew Kendall if he is starting. I think that they would start him over Toth at center.
They should. You
That would
should
be my
want to
guess.
get different. You should want to get
the right
different
tackle.
looks.
The right tackle could also be Cam Williams.
I'd like to see Cam Williams and Drew Kendall.
Yeah, Cam Williams is going to play. I do think that this is what I think that they're going to start Fred Johnson, and then second quarter, second half, whatever it'll move Matt Pryor to left tackle because I think Cam Williams is a right tackle, right? If I'm not mistaken. So then
Correct.
Cam Williams will finish the game at right tackle is my guess. But like I said, I am excited to see Drew Kendall with the way. Look, Juergens has been struggling a lot, and he's not going to get replaced this year, but maybe there could be a battle. Who knows? Maybe there could be a battle in the offseason. I highly doubt it. I think a healthy Juergens is good, but right now he's not healthy, and he's missing every block, it seems like. That's why Saquon has to make a spin move or a move as soon as he touches the ball in the backfield. I guess at tight end, we'll see Granson and Calcaterra. So excited. At receiver, Darius Cooper, Jahan Dotson. I do think Devontae's going to start, and they're going to force feed him the ball to get him his 45, whatever, 50 yards he needs, and then get him out. If the first possession, if the Eagles get the ball first, throw it to him 17 times. I don't care. Just let him get his yards and let him. The starting secondary for Washington, Antonio Hamilton, Mike Sanders, they can't cover him. So he should be able to go out there, get his yards, get the 1,000 yards, come off the field, be healthy. We're going to need Devontae. But behind them, when you see maybe Britton Covey, I guess. I'm not a Covey fan, but whatever. Jahan Dotson, Darius Cooper. What other receivers do we have
Terrace Marshall, I think, is being...
Is he on? He's on the practice squad right now, right?
Likely an elevation, yeah. Likely an elevation, but you probably have to.
Yeah. They've already, and the Eagles have already ruled out a bunch of guys for the game. Jalen Carter, Nakobe Dean, Marcus Epps, Dallas Goedert, Lane Johnson, and Jalen Phillips are not going to play. So there's already a bunch of your inactives for the game. You can expect to see Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Saquon Barkley on that list. Just trying to quickly kind of look at should have did this before. Also, it is the third and final Kelly Green game. Failed to mention that. It's our favorite week.
Is that favorite week?
Quez Watkins could be brought up. He's on the practice squad. Perry Nickerson could be brought up too as a DB. Holland Pierce potentially could be brought up. Brandon Johnson and Patrick Johnson will definitely be brought up. EJ Jenkins will be a tight end. Danny Gray. So they have a bunch of guys on the practice squad that they could bring up so that we don't even have to sniff seeing any of our star players.
Yeah, I feel like there's a limit to how many elevations you can make from the practice squad in a week. I just don't remember that number. I'm looking it up now.
It's not like the COVID year.
It's two
It's
per
not like
week.
the COVID year, because if you remember that last game of the season, the Eagles put 17 guys on the COVID list, which was funny. And that's the year Dak threw 5 touchdowns on our COVID team.
Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, it's only going to be two, and then I guess you got to look at where are their lightest positions, and I kind of obviously Andre
Safety. So
safety
Andre
like
Sam,
Andre Sam. You look at edge, we're really light at edge when you consider the scope of things. Like I mean, Jalen
Patrick
Phillips is
Johnson.
already ruled out, so probably Patrick Johnson. But then wide receiver, we're really light at wide receiver as well. Like you've Darius Cooper and Britton Covey up there now with Devontae Smith makes it. See, like they're gonna have a tough decision to make there. It could be that you kind of have to put Smith out there more than you really want to have him out there, but hopefully you
I mean,
don't
still have
need to.
Jahan
But
Dotson. It'd be Jahan Dotson,
yeah,
Darius Cooper, and
then Britton Covey,
and Britton Covey, and then yeah,
which
they'll
then
go a lot of two tight ends.
which makes evaluating Tanner McKee that much harder when you have to consider that he's thrown to Darius Cooper, Britton Covey, and Jahan Dotson for the majority of this game. But and I agree with you when you look up and down. Like this is one of those situations where I wish we could have activated Willie Lampkin. It would have been nice to have Willie Lampkin out there and activated to see what he's got at center. But like you said, it's probably going to be, I don't think there'll be a battle at center or to decide to start in center next year as much as, the media is going to create it and there's going to be articles all over the place about will Cam Jurgens start next year. I don't think that there's going to be a big battle as far as that goes. Cam Jurgens is going to be the starter and I hope that he doesn't need any other further surgery and can have an off season where he can just get healthy and get right and hopefully come back and be better. Now, if he doesn't need a surgery, has a whole off season to get right and get better and comes back and looks the same next year, okay, we can have a discussion. But right now, it's not a discussion. Right now, he is a Pro Bowl center, Cam Jurgens. So we're going to roll with the fact that he got that accolade added to his name. I agree with you. I want to see Cam Williams so bad. Like, it stresses me out. Because now that we're staring down the barrel of like the tight end situation that we have where I've put out on our X feed, just heads up, I am the predominant poster on the X feed. So that's my perspective saying that we need to just clean house and start over at the tight end position completely, trade for one, sign one, draft a couple. Like, I mean, the only one I'd actually...
That's what I want.
Exactly, yep. I mean, the only one I'd really keep on the roster is Cameron Latu, but he doesn't get as many looks as I'd like him to get. So hopefully today or Sunday's game will be an opportunity to get a better look at Latu. But
Van Summeren is potentially going to be healthy. He's technically the fullback.
Exactly, but Latu, I think, could be a block. Like, he could be like the Jack Stoll who we, let go prematurely during a season. And I feel like we've never come back from that because Grant Calcaterra is not a pass blocker, not even a very viable pass catcher anymore. Kylan Granson doesn't need to come back to this football team. I don't need to see him again. I've seen enough of him in his past time and in his time in Philadelphia. And like I've kind of said, I think Dallas Goedert's played his way out of Philadelphia. Maybe, if we make a deep run or get back to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, maybe he'd be like, I want to keep winning. I want to be here. But we've seen that even in the face of winning, money kind of wins out. I.e. Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, money talks and those types of situations arise where players just would...
31, 32? 30?
Yeah, exactly. So this is his final chance to get paid and to get a big paycheck. So I don't blame him if he goes off and gets paid and wants to go.
Just because I don't think he would get that big of a payday that you think he would get because of his age.
You could
especially
probably
with Kyle Pitts is going to be out there.
Yeah,
David Njoku could potentially be out there. They have Harold Fannin.
But sometimes we've seen these situations arise where, teams get desperate because of a market with like a Pitts and a Njoku, like you said. They create a market and Dallas Goedert gets more than what he's expected. It all depends on where the market flows. I just don't know if Howie's got so much prioritizing to do on the defensive side of the ball financially that it just might make sense to move on from Goedert and most of this tight end room, draft, sign one cheap, like get cheap, get young and start over in the tight end room.
We'll see. Just because they're going to have to, they're going to have to draft on the offensive line. Like they're going to use a high draft pick on the offensive line.
Unless
this is where, with all the money going to the defense, probably within the next 2 to 3 years, they're going to have to draft on the offensive side of the ball. And I get
that's where my point was.
Position, but
That's where my ultimate point was leaning, because I kind of made the point about Cameron Williams and then moved over to the tight end position. I would like to see Cameron Williams out there because there's a part of me that feels like they drafted him with some sort
And kind
of
of froze a little bit. He'll be
belief that
back in
could
a
they
minute or
develop him
two or
into the
a
right
couple
tackle
seconds.
that they
Al's
need,
Exploits,
or
thanks for joining us.
that they
Welcome.
want to take over for
Hopefully you're
Lane
excited
Johnson.
for the glorified preseason game against the Washington Commanders, led by Tanner McKee. Somebody that I did want to bring up as we're still waiting for Connor. You guys are better with terminology than I am. I think I read it on X. Jurgens has had the worst stats for offensive line starters. I think I saw that too, where he's just been the worst run blocking offensive lineman in all of the NFL. And it doesn't matter the position. Yeah, seeing that too. Connor, you did freeze out. So I kind of just took over.
Sorry.
But if you want to continue, you can.
Yeah, sorry. I was making my point about Cam Williams, and I think that it would be good to see him out there as much as we could, because I think they have a belief that maybe they have some support in house for, the heir to Lane Johnson's right tackle position beyond not this year but next year, because I think they fully believe and anticipate Lane will be back next year.
Yeah, and they also have Holland Pierce, and who's the other guy? They had another tackle.
Miles Hinton that they brought in, who's a wing tackle too.
Also, didn't bring up the running back position. You would think that Tank Bigsby will start, but I don't want him to get a bunch. Like, we need him. Like, even though Saquon is the starter, I'd much rather, or I would not want Bigsby getting hurt, because I'd much rather him carry the ball than Will Shipley. I'm still perplexed why Will Shipley's always on the field on third down, and they waste time giving him the ball. It's almost like when I was pissed off when they kept giving the ball to Gainwell last year. It just felt like a waste. Or Quez Watkins, for that matter, a couple years back. So this could be a game where you see Shipley and A.J. Dillon will be activated. A.J. Dillon will, finally earn a paycheck instead of being deactivated every game day. Which is crazy. He's been such a good soldier for a vet like A.J. Dillon, who, I don't know if he was a first or second round pick, been a starter in this league. And for the last 2/3 of the season has been inactive, hasn't been on the field, and he hasn't complained once. So it's admirable, just him showing that veteran, being that veteran presence in that locker room.
Adam's exploits continuing to pick at LJ about having a fan going. LJ, I have my heat at 72 and wearing a winter coat line, and
I don't have the heat on.
And by the way, I found it. It says Cam Jurgens leads all starting offensive linemen, regardless of position, in blown run block rate.
That's not good.
So you can't run behind him.
You don't even need it. And again, I mentioned the last episode. I don't care about stats. I use the eye test. Watch him. You saw it last week. Like, it just gets blown off. He gets beat off the ball. And that the game against Washington, he got beat off the ball, and Saquon made the spin move, and he went for 45 yards. Last week, he got beat off the ball. Saquon made a spin move, and then there were Buffalo Bills there. It just, there's a Saquon's year obviously hasn't been as good as it was last year, to over 2,000 yards, this, that, and a third. But I mean, he got 1,000 yards, and this is with playing behind such a bad offensive line. The type of offensive lines he had when he was a Giant.
Definitely. You need your center to be a lot better, and he has been a lot better. We know he can be a lot better. It's just, is the regression, from injury, or is the regression a natural regression? And if it's a natural regression, then that's scary, because it's a significant step back. I'm of the belief it stems more from injury, and I'm hoping that he comes back next year. But if we get 4 to 5 weeks into the season and he looks anywhere close to what he is right now, I'm worried. I'm going to be very worried.
Also, it could be interesting. He did play guard for a couple of years. If Kendall or Lampkin can play center and be good at it, move him to right guard. He was a right guard before, and he was good at it. Now, he was playing between Kelsey and Johnson, so it'd be different. But, if there's just somebody that can beat him out at center, he probably could be a better guard than Tyler Steen is.
And I don't think that would be, disrespect. He might see it as disrespectful, since I think he's a 2-time Pro Bowler now. This is his second year as a Pro Bowler. So, he might take it as you're going to move a 2-time Pro Bowl center. But I think, Cam Jurgens also strikes me as a guy who would be like, I'm going to do what's best for the team. And if there's genuinely a better center out there, or someone has genuinely beat me for the position, I'll move to right guard again. Because I think when he came into the NFL as well, he had had experience at right guard as well. If not, he was a right guard naturalized through college or parts of college. So I would be interested to see what happens. Yeah, like Adam's exploit says, Jurgens and Dickerson always hurt. Lane retiring soon. There are some major question marks coming up at the offensive line position for a position we used to be so confident in and so proud of. This year has definitely been one of the worst in, at least the last 5 years. This is the worst this offensive line's looked in 5 years or more.
Yeah, definitely. It hasn't been this bad in a long time. Not counting when the entire offensive line got hurt. Like they're all starters minus Lane Johnson, and they're not playing.
Oh, they're like the year we had 16 different or 15 different offensive line combinations.
Did we go to the playoffs that was fun.
Yeah,
it was. I don't know if we went to the playoffs.
I'm pretty sure we did. I'm pretty sure we did.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's enough talking about this game. I don't really, honestly, I'm gonna watch it, and this is gonna be the first game that I don't have to be stressed out because again, we need the line. Like, if it was the Eagles win, they're the number 2 seed. Okay, there's something to stress out about the starters we'll be playing, but there's not you need somebody else to win before you even have a chance. Will I be keeping my eye on the Bears-Lions game? Sure. I'll check the score here and there, but I'm just I just want to see these young guys go out there, just play football. And I will say one thing: the play calls will be different because if you go way back to when Andy Reid was the head coach, and Donovan would get hurt, and AJ Feely, Jeff Garcia, Kevin Cobb, whoever, anybody else would go in for him, the plays changed. They would run the football more. They would do a bunch more under center stuff. Then when Donovan would come back, they come back to throwing the ball all over the yard. Don't be shocked if the play calling looks different. Now, obviously, Jalen and Tanner are 2 totally different quarterbacks. Jalen can move around. Tanner's more of your prototypical pocket passer quarterback. So so that's going to make the play calls a little bit different, but don't be surprised if we see kind of different play calls. And I do want to see, are the plays still getting called in late? Are they still breaking the huddle at the 10-second mark? So I am definitely going to be looking at that, and I still think that that's a Kevin Patullo thing, not a Jalen Hurts thing. All right, Connor, let's finish this off the way we usually finish our review shows off. Player to watch on offense and defense, a key. Then we'll get to our unheralded player of the week from last week, and then our prediction.
I guess for player to watch, I'm not going to pick a player who I necessarily am watching in this game from an impact perspective, but someone I'm most excited to watch because it's a very unique and different perspective on this game than what we normally would give. And mine's going to go to Cameron Williams. And I kind of alluded to it earlier. There's no one really in the backup category for the majority of positions that I'm paying a lot of attention to. So I'm looking at Cameron Williams and I'm looking at what does he show us at right tackle? Does he start right away? Because, like you said, to kind of earlier in the episode, is it going to be Brett Toth who starts there because Fred Johnson's kicking to the other side, or is it going to be Cameron Williams? I think that would speak volumes that if they will put Williams in there and wanted to see Williams get his shot. We know who Brett Toth is. They know who Brett Toth is at this point.
I think Matt Pryor
you need to put him in
at right tackle.
Or Matt Pryor, yeah, whoever it might be. I think it should be Cameron Williams. Take a look at your future. Get a look at your future and see what might happen there. For the Eagles offense, the key to the game is to me, it's simple. Just if you can go out there and you can beat this Washington Commanders team who's playing all of their starters, that's really impressive. But I'd love to see... They're not really
playing all their starters, though. They have a bunch of
chunk of starters. Well. Yeah, they have a ton of injuries. I agree. So, for me, it's just to see if anything is different, if anything changes with this offense at all. Like you said, and you kind of alluded to it, it's a Kevin Patullo thing. I've actually seen a lot of graphics where they've been slow to get the play call in since Nick Sirianni came to Philadelphia. So it almost feels like it's a Nick Sirianni thing, but he doesn't really have much pull or say in the offense anymore.
It seems worse this year, though.
It is worse. This year is worse than any other year. Yeah, in the graphs, it shows this year is meteorically worse than other seasons. And Adam's exploits, I agree. We all know Pryor is terrible. I agree. What is the point in having... There's no reason to put Toth or Pryor out there. Put Kendall in, put Cameron Williams out there. Get a look at guys. You're going to bring Brett Toth back in the offseason. You know you're bringing Matt Pryor back. You know you're probably going to put them on your practice squad next year. We don't care about those guys anymore. Let's get a look at the guys that we don't know so much about and try and figure out, are these going to be the future of our offensive line or the future depth of our offensive line? So I agree with your stance there, Adams exploits, that it's time to get a look at other people. And that's why I kind of wish Willie Lampkin was available. I prefer Lampkin and seeing what he's got over Kendall. Defensive side of the ball.
Before you finish, before
Yep.
you go, that comment that, and I think we talked about it on Tuesday, that Patullo said, we just run it to run it sometimes. That, he should have been fired. As soon as he said that, if I was Sirianni, I'm like, dude, you're out. You're fired. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that pissed me off. Go ahead.
There's a reason he said it before week 18 and not in week 10, because he knew he was getting fired if he made that comment prior to this. But yeah, defensive side of the ball, I always love to see Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I want to keep seeing that development. Of course, he's getting buried behind in a depth chart that's very, very strong and very, very competitive now, especially if they decide to bring back Nakobe D next year, plus Jahal Campbell, plus Zach Bond. We may never really get to see the true Jeremiah Trotter Jr. When we might see him, we never know, but I love seeing him. He plays very well when he gets a chance on the field. He's a decent special teamer. There's lots of things to like about him. His lineage and his bloodline with the Philadelphia Eagles, with his father. You would want to see more Jeremiah Trotter Jr., but not when we have linebackers looking the best they've looked in, a decade? More than a decade? Decades, can we say? So it's difficult not to. For the defensive side of the ball, I just want to see, again, what we got from guys like even Ty Robinson, continue to see Byron Young. Byron Young, when he's had to step up, has stepped up in a huge way. I'm really excited to see. I agree with you. Adams exploits, I'd like to see Robinson. I kind of alluded to that earlier in the episode as well. I like Ty Robinson. I liked him through the draft process. I was so hyped when the Eagles got him. But Ajomo, Davis, and Carter and Byron Young have just been too good for Robinson to even crack the game day roster. So I'm just excited. For me, there's no real keys to the game. It's just I'm excited to see some of these guys get an opportunity who I was kind of banging the drum for earlier in the off season or earlier in the season and just haven't gotten the opportunity that they've gotten.
Yeah, I agree. The biggest keys, stay healthy for whoever's going to be out there. Like, this is going to be important. Like, if Devontae goes out there, just get him his 1,000 real quick so he can get the hell out of the game. Tank Bigsby, give him whatever you want to give him and get him hell out the game. Fred Johnson is going to be important. Being the sixth offensive lineman. I guess even Steen, because I think Steen's going to play and start. Get out there, get some work, get out. So my player on the offensive side is actually going to be Drew Kendall. Just intrigued just to see kind of how he looks at the center position. I think Deron Payne might be playing. I'm not 100% sure. The defensive front for Washington they still have some players, so it'll be nice to just get him some work against, if Deron Payne is playing, against an all-pro type of player. On the defensive side of the ball, I was going to go Trot, but you took him. I'm going to go Jacorian Bennett. Let's see what you talked about it. Ever since the Eagles traded for him, again, they tried to give that second CB position to anybody but Adoree Jackson, and Adoree just hasn't given it up, and that's credit to him. They tried to give it to Keely Ringo. They traded for Jacorian Bennett. They traded for Jair Alexander. They tried to give it to anybody. They tried to claim Slay, but they wanted to give it to anybody. But Adoree Jackson's done a good job. So I want to see what Jacorian Bennett's about, because I think he's under contract for next year. So kind of see what he can do against, a Terry McLaurin. I know it's Josh Johnson throwing the ball, but let's see what he can do against a Terry McLaurin and a Deebo Samuel. So I'm going to go Jacorian Bennett on the defensive side of it.
I like it.
All right, so who's your unheralded player of the week for last week?
I am going with Audric Esteem for the New Orleans Saints. The Saints.
He was on the Eagles practice squad.
He was on the Eagles practice. So, of course, obviously, we don't really need him with the state of the running back position. But the wild thing, that one of the big reasons I pick him is, did you see the video that was circulating on social media where people were giving Audric Esteem, they were giving Audric Esteem a hard time, some of the fans in the stadium, and then he went off and had the best game of his career. And so I think that that's hilarious when a video like that pops up and emerges, and then you go out there and you go 14 for 94 and a touchdown. And I think the majority of that rushing yardage was on that touchdown specifically. I mean, you love those stories and those circumstances where a guy gets to prove himself in a situation where he likely wouldn't get a chance to prove himself. And I mean, it sucks that he's 27 years old, but Tyler Shuck is starting to look like he could be maybe something to build around for the Saints. It also sucks that he was a second round pick, so they don't get the fifth year option on him. So they're going to have to pay him a year earlier than most quarterbacks. So they have to make a decision on him a lot sooner. But I think they've won, what, 3 in a row? The New Orleans Saints, all with Tyler Shuck throwing the ball. So, I mean, the Saints still suck, but it's Kellen Moore there. It's good that they're finding some sort of answer because they've been in cap hell for like 5 years now. They've started every offseason for the last 5 years, negative X amount of tens of millions of dollars in the cap. So, I mean, you love to see a bit of a rebuild and feel good story for them. But I mean, I don't want to see them winning. I don't want to see them becoming like this star caliber team anytime soon. But they have some feel good stories and situations, and you got to have a soft spot for Kellen Moore bringing a Super Bowl or helping bring a Super Bowl to Philly.
I'm going to go with Wan'Dale Robinson of the Giants. Had 11 catches, 113 yards, went over 1,000 yards, I think, for the first time in his career, as the Giants defeated the Vegas Raiders and the Toilet Bowl 34-10 for the second straight year. I think it's the second straight year.
And I think Robinson actually got hurt too, and his season's over.
Yeah, his season's over. And the Giants, for the second straight year, blew the chance at the number 1 overall pick. So they're, again, and the fact that Joe Schoen is still their GM is funny. It is hilarious that he is still their GM. All right, Connor, it's prediction time. This is a tough one. Again, it's a glorified preseason game, so it's tough. Before we do that, I'm 9-7, you're 8-8. So if we go different sides of the ball here, you have a chance to tie me heading into the playoffs. You want me to go first, so just in case you want to change yours up?
Yeah, go ahead. I feel like I need you to now.
I'm going to go 24-13 Eagles. I don't think Josh Johnson's going to be able to score even against the Eagles backups. So 24-13 Eagles.
That sucks because I still don't find myself being able to buy into the Commanders at all. So I feel like you're going to win it this year just because I can't. I don't see a reason to buy into it. I saw Josh Johnson when he played against us even. And I know that he came in cold and, whatever the circumstance, but still, I mean, he looks so bad. He's always looked bad. I mean, he gets jobs. He does something right within the NFL. Experience matters, but
he's been on half the teams in the league, it seems like.
And when you're the emergency third QB, it is what it is, right? So I am going with the Philadelphia Eagles as well. I'm going 21-10. So very similar to you, but I think the Eagles can pull this off. And then let's cheer for the Bears. Let's hope they haven't mailed it in, and we get their win.
The Lions. The Lions.
Let's cheer for the Lions and hope that they haven't mailed it in yet. And then Aiden says Philly Eagles have a real problem scoring in the second half. Yeah, it's going to be interesting in this game to see if they continue to be conservative or if they test some things out to see what might work for them. I know it's not Jalen Hurts, but if they test some other things out to see what could stick in the playoffs, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. They do, once they get a lead, they kind of try to sit on it, and it's when they got up 13-0 and there were still 2.5 quarters to play. That's what they did last week, and it almost came back to bite them. As Adam Exploit says, Adam says, Happy New Year, everybody. We are in the 2026. The Eagles are going to the playoffs. The only team in the NFC East. We don't know who they'll play. We'll find out Sunday by about this time. By about 49 hours from now, we could potentially know who the Eagles will be playing in the first round of the playoffs. We do know that it will be at Lincoln Financial Field. As always, thank you all for tuning into the Kelly Green Hour. Follow us on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. Follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10. Follow me on Twitter at LGRaw54 and follow the Eagles Pinpool Network on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your podcasts at Eagles Pinpool Network. We'll be back on Tuesday with a review of this preseason game. I don't even know why we're going to do it. We'll be able to talk playoff opponent a little bit before we get into our preview late next week, heading into Wild Card Weekend. For Connor, I'm LJ. Thank you all for tuning into the Kelly Green Hour.
Thank you for being a part of our 2025. Make sure you're there for 2026 and bring a friend along with you. Tell them to come check out the Kelly Green Hour. Fly, Eagles, fly, baby.